Alright, now I haven't reviewed mics in a minute, but this one's kind of like affordable and pretty and also sent out to me, so let's talk about it. Like I mentioned, this was sent out to me for review, but this won't affect my review in any way, shape, or form. Everything you're gonna hear here is gonna be my own personal opinion, and with that being said, let's get started. Alright, starting with the box, we have, well, a box with stuff in it, and among the stuff is, of course, the microphone with basically everything attached to it, aside from the boom arm mount, which you can attach later if you want to put it on a boom arm, but regardless, you'll still get a cable as well as a manual. Alright, let's get into the mic itself. It's a pretty full-featured mic, as you got a microphone that's on a shock mount on a stand with a little pop filter, but I should mention that everything is basically made of plastic, with the only main metal parts being like the pop filter as well as like the grill on the mic itself. Now I should note that the pop filter does have a little smiley face and is removable in case you don't like it. Now being a desk mic, it does have some levels of adjustment in terms of the angle of the mic from the stand, but if you're the type of person who doesn't like to use it on your desk and prefer to put on a boom arm, it does come with a mount to do so, which also of course comes with like the standard threaded adapter, so you can put it on any boom arm or mic stand. As for features on the microphone, you do get a mute button, which is actually a touch capacitive button, so you don't have to press it or anything, you just gotta touch it and it works, turning red for mute and green for active. As for other bits, there is a touch capacitive button in the back to adjust your RGB lighting, as well as a little knob on the bottom to adjust the gain of the microphone. As for ports, there's a USB-C port for data and power, as well as a 3.5mm jack for headphone monitoring. Okay, now if we plug the microphone in, it will light up as it turns on, giving you a rather nice and bright RGB lighting, which can be adjusted with the button in the back, as I mentioned earlier, allowing you to go through a variety of singular colors, as well as having a single RGB mode, where it'll essentially just kind of flow through all the pretty colors in the spectrum. Clearly taking hints from HyperX's like quadcast microphone. Clap, sync, alright. Now we got the microphone plugged in, and I've actually already tested this a few times to see how it sounds, and it sounds really nice for a $50 microphone while still having like these wonderful benefits here. Like, it's pretty clear to me what they're trying to do with this mic. They're trying to essentially compete with Razer's Siren series. It looks a lot more like the Siren X, while also taking elements of the HyperX microphones with the LED RGBs, which I honestly do think was a really good decision. And the way they designed this microphone is it's a very simple microphone. It does everything just right. This is like the bare basic needs. You have like the mute button here if I press on top, which is touch capacitive, which is kind of neat. So you might have heard me try to talk, but it was muted, so you couldn't hear me, and it works quite well, which is just what it does. Headphone monitoring with it plugged in down here, it is fairly clean. I don't have like really much of a hiss in the background. I just have like it capturing background noise, which may be occurring, which is normal. It's a microphone, it captures sound. So the audio playback is definitely 1-to-1, so monitoring is good, and you can definitely use it as like your headphone input. Something I really also do like about the headphone input is that it is completely separate from like the little mic gain input. So then like if I were to adjust the mic gain input over here, it wouldn't like change the volume of whatever's playing back from like my PC or my laptop. So if I want to adjust like some sounds going on in the game, then it's just purely based on what's the volume set at on the laptop or on the PC, versus also being tied to the monitoring. Like if I turn up the monitoring on other microphones, say like on a Blue Yeti, it'll turn up volume in general, not just the in-game volume or like in PC laptop volume, but also my voice volume at the same time, and it can be a bit much. This one keeps it separate, which I think a lot of people will appreciate. Now, as you can tell as I face away, the sound will change a little bit, and that's because it's a cardioid microphone. So let me just bring it up so to give you a better idea of like how this microphone sounds if you have it at a more optimal level, say if you put it on a boom arm. And the quality that you get from it is actually surprisingly nice. The little screen over here, as you can hear, this is the pop filter, and it works very well. It does its job, which is important. Being a cardioid microphone, we should test out its the effect of the polar pattern, which in case if I move it around, it'll essentially capture my voice less if I head to the side of it, as well as the other side, as it is even away. This is a mono microphone, not a stereo microphone. So at this side, it'll also be quieter, and behind it, it'll be quietest, of course, because of the polar pattern. Moving it all the way back around to the front, and there we go. Now then, another thing I also want to test in terms of like the ability of its distance is like, how well it'll capture sound as I move further away from it. This is kind of important due to the polar pattern as I bring it closer. Now what if I go from the side? Just talking away to it and see if it captures my voice still, as well as from over here all the way over now, kind of a distance away. Give you an idea of what it captures in the background in case, like, you have people in the background versus over here. I don't know if you heard any of that, but I was essentially testing to see if it'll capture my voice, even if it was like an arm's length away from me, in case there's people around you, just, if you didn't hear that part. And as you can hear in my handling of it, due to the shock mount, it does a really good job negating the effects of like the movements. You don't hear like the weird like sounds if I like whack it. I really have to like hit the mic for you to hear those sounds because it is well mounted in a shock mount. This also means that it does a good job like negating the sound effects of like if I'm like on a table and whatnot. It doesn't get like those hard bumps you would get if it was just on a solid stand. And if it was say like getting like keyboard sounds, let's get something loud like a mechanical keyboard. So if I like, whoops-a-daisy, drop something, that's okay. If I was to have like a replication of something this is kind of loud. This is a bit of a louder keyboard. I'm gonna type on it with it in front of the microphone. So it's definitely gonna capture that sound. But I know a lot of you guys when you play games, your keyboard is usually beside your microphone, in which case it'll sound more like this. And this is a very loud keyboard. This is one with cream switches. And the matter of fact is it still captures my voice a little bit better. Optimally, you'll want to put this on a boom arm. That goes for basically any microphone, because any microphone on a boom arm takes it away from like the table level and brings it closer to your face level, which allows you to have essentially, you know, better quality sound. So there is a boom arm this thing was sent to me with, which is optional. I'll make another video on that later. I have it lying around somewhere. Oh, yeah, that was the thing I dropped. So, you know, there is a boom arm you can buy optionally with it. And, you know, it's in there. There'll be another review. But as far as this microphone is concerned, this is really good for what we're getting here. I've tested a lot of budget microphones in the past, and I've literally tried to stop like looking at mics because I kind of got sick of mics. They were in the budget market very similar to each other with little ups and downs in terms of its build and whatnot. But this one actually kind of excites me because it takes a very different approach. I like that they've taken some bits from like the Razer Siren series, having this shape essentially, but and you know, adding the colors from the RGBs inside the thing, like the microphone itself, which is something definitely taken from the HyperX series of microphones, and essentially also adding a few more things such as putting on a built-in shock mount, which is also like the HyperX mic, and putting on a little pop filter, which I do like a lot. And the sacrifice they did make was they had to use plastic for almost the entire build versus metal, but I don't necessarily see that as a downside for the most part, especially if you're in the budget market. Within the budget microphone market, there are a lot of like microphones that are trying to compete with the big guys out there, and so they'll make their stuff out of metal, they'll have it on like a little stand, and it's just basically a microphone on a stick that's on a platform, which isn't necessarily the greatest thing. And they'll advertise like, oh, they got like a built-in like shock mount thing for the capsule, which doesn't nearly, it doesn't work nearly as well as having an actual shock mount for the whole mic itself. So I do like this approach, especially at $50. Around this price point, you're usually seeing mics that are trying to copy like the Razer Siren Mini or one of the Blue Yetis, like the Blue Yeti Nanos. And the thing about those is those things are nice microphones and they are well built with metal and whatnot. But I think the fact that this is a $50 microphone that sounds this good, has these colors for aesthetics in case you're like a streamer or something like that, that's also nice. But the biggest point that I like the most about it is they bothered putting it on a shock mount at this price while still maintaining this quality of sound. And I think that makes this like one of the most worth it mics if you're on a budget, just because it sounds so good. And at the same time, it's isolated from other things that could cause like, distractions of noise or like unwanted noise being captured due to the fact it's on a shock mount, Ooh, I just made a hit into like the thing because I shook it so hard. But point is, I like it very much because of that. And the thing is, it doesn't really use physical buttons as much as like tactile buttons that use, touch capacitiveness, which is pretty neat. It just makes things a little bit more convenient in some ways. But it does take that sacrifice of being mostly made of plastic, as I mentioned before. And personally, for me, the way that I view this microphone in terms of how it works, how it looks, how it sounds, I don't mind the plastic. And this may seem like a downside for some in terms of durability, but this also makes the microphone lighter, which allows you to easily put it onto a lot of like boom arms out there. Some boom arms, they kind of struggle with heavier weights, so then it can cause the microphone to lean over time. And especially if like the little joint here starts to wear over time with use for some microphones as it gets a little bit older. Due to how light this is, you're not going to have much problem with that. But, when it comes to durability, I'm not entirely sure, but just because something is made of plastic doesn't mean like it's a piece of crap. For this case, I think it's going to be fine. It feels pretty well built despite being made of plastic. It's not like toy-like. The only thing that feels toy-like was probably how the stand kind of feels. Like, I wish this bit at least was made of metal, but I guess you can't have everything, so, that's basically all my thoughts on this microphone. So is it worth it? Absolutely. There are some sacrifices, and it's mostly in terms of like its build, but I'd sacrifice the build of being made of metal and being turned to being made of plastic if I can get all these things. If I can have everything made of metal with these things, that'd be kind of cool. Maybe like I'd pay like a little bit more than that, but as it is right now, I think this is just a really good product. And if you're like looking for a microphone on $50, you're on a budget, you want some looks, you're a streamer, so you care about the RGBs and whatnot, then go ahead. That being said, if you do want to buy this microphone, I will have a link in the description in case you do want to purchase it. I believe this is going to be like an affiliate link, so if you buy from there, I get a slight kickback to help run this channel, essentially. Subscribe for more content, by the way. Hit that notification bell down there in case you want to know when I'm posting next. And I also stream on Twitch every now and then. It's been a little hectic because I just got a job, but, you know, I'll be there every now and then, so subscribe or just follow or something like that, and you'll catch me around, and we'll have some fun. So, that being said, I'll see you guys next time. I'd bash you with this microphone, but I'm kind of plugged in and I'm recording, so I'm just gonna do this.